This is the shot I'm working on. It's a 15 seconds push in, and I put some tape on the window to give the tracker something extra to work with. After some of you said my camera work was a bit too jittery in the last shot, I used a motion control system this time. See, I can't even hold my phone steady. I open the clip in Blender in a new motion tracking window. I click Set Scene Frames, Prefetch and Normalize. And then Detect Features. Set the threshold to 0.2 and the distance to 55 and hit Ctrl-T to track the scene. I remove the faulty tracks, go to the Solve tab, Filter Tracks, select and delete all tracks with an error over 5 and hit Solve. 0.25, very good. I adjust the rotation and position of the camera to make it fit the scene a bit more. Then I create 2 cubes, put them in the place where the wall should be, and rotate the camera a bit more until they line up perfectly. I delete one cube, loop cut the other one where the windowsill and the upper part of the wall are, duplicate the cube and put it back in place. I join the cubes, select the 4 corresponding faces that should become the wall and delete them. I select each 2 corresponding edges and join them with bridge edge loops. I go to compositing and delete the unused output created by the tracking process. After that I extrude the outer faces of the wall outward and then extrude them towards the camera. Set the visibility to hold out. Cut the unused bottom part with box cutter and add a plane. For the window, I create a cube and scale it to the width of the hole in the wall. Then I select the edges that make contact to the wall, scale them to the height of the window and delete the back. I take the loop cut tool and make 2 cuts in the Z and X direction to get a window with smaller segments. And with the offset edge loop tool selected I offset each loop to make the base of the window frame. To keep everything straight, I adjust the vertices. I select all the faces that will become glass and separate them from the frame. I select the frame and extrude it inwards, select the outer faces and extrude them outwards. Then I select the window. Add a solidify modifier, adjust the thickness and apply it. For the wooden step, I add a cube, UV unwrap it and duplicate it along the x-axis. I duplicate the middle one, flatten it, stretch it along the x-axis, UV unwrap it again and duplicate it along the y-axis, duplicate it again, rotate it 90 degrees, scale it down and place it on top of the other planks. Then I clone it along the width of the window with an array modifier. For the curtains I create a plane and size it down to cover one side of the step. UV unwrap it, loop cut it into squares and duplicate it along the x-axis. I go to the Simply Cloth add-on, hit Create Cloth, and then Subdivide. In Edit mode I select the vertices that I want to get pinned and add them as a new pin layer. I tab out of Edit mode, choose the Silk preset and run the simulation. I decrease the stiffness and shrink values, activate the quality view and increase the factor and value of the smooth modifier. I hit Apply Cloth, scale it down on the Z-axis and apply a subdivision surface modifier. Then I repeat the same process for the other side. Onto the buttons. I add a cylinder, apply Shade Smooth and Auto Smooth Normals, rotate it and scale it down. I tab into Edit mode, select one edge loop and bevel it with one segment, scale it down again and put it in place. Then I UV unwrap it and duplicate it along the x-axis. I hide everything besides the steps, go to the top view, select the top row of planks, and use the box cutter tool to cut the front side of the planks in an uneven shape to give them a more natural look. I separate them by loose parts into individual objects, set origin to geometry. Select some planks and rotate them to get rid of the symmetry. To see a bit more what I'm doing, I go to Polyheaven, go to HDRIs and type in Sunset. I choose the one I like, download it, and open it in Blender. OK. Now on to texturing the scene. I use the Extreme PBR add-on for the window frame. I choose a rusty kind of metal and UV unwrap the frame again. For the wood planks I choose a wood plank material. Who would have guessed that? I apply the material to one plank and link the others to that one. With all the vertical planks selected, I tab into Edit mode and UV unwrap again. Then I select the rest of the wood, link their material to a plank and adjust their textures. For the buttons, I choose a copper looking metal. And for the curtains, I take a floral fabric texture I downloaded from Quixel. I add a point light, duplicate it and adjust the color and intensity to get a better feeling for the scene. For the small open window, I select the window, tab into Edit mode and select the center window and separate it, deleting the unused faces. With the new plane selected, I tab into Edit mode and inset the face, to create the frame. I separate the glass part, extrude the frame on both sides and also extrude the glass a bit. I parent the glass to the frame and set the frame's origin to geometry. Then I select the frame and use the Pivot Transform tool to place the pivot where the hinge would be. I UV unwrap the frame and link its material to the main frame. I add a glass material, split the screen and open the shader editor. I dial the IOR down to 0.9 and make a quick render. I add a smudge texture, plug it into the roughness, and add a color ramp to gain more control over the texture. For the rain texture, I add a translucent and a transparent BSDF, mix them together and mix that mix node with the original glass shader. Then I add an image texture and go to YouTube. I type in green screen, rain, window and open the first clip. Shoutouts to Green Screen Collection for providing the video under Creative Commons. I open the clip in After Effects, create a new comp and apply the Primat keyer. I select a piece of green, then scroll down to the spill killer and activate it. I check if everything is fine, drop the comp in the render queue, export it as a PNG sequence with alpha and open it as image texture in Blender, and use it as a factor for the first mix shader. To make the effect more visible, I dial down the factor of the second mix shader. I adjust the color ramp of the smudge texture, dial down the blur of the HDR and add a color ramp to the rain texture, to make it stand out a bit more. I select the glass, tab into edit mode and open the UV editor. I scale each UV island to roughly match the size of the rain texture. Then I separate the windows into individual objects and make each window use its own unique rain material by making it the single user of its material. In this process, I offset the start frame of the rain image sequence for each window pane to give the rain variance. Finally, I open the small window. Move everything that belongs to the step into one collection, and everything that belongs to the entire window into another. I hide the step in the view layer by disabling the collection, create a new view layer, enable the step collection and disable the window collection. In the compositor, I add a file output node and connect it to the image output of the render layer. I duplicate this two nodes and, in the new render node, select the other view layer. In the new file output, I change the name and location. Then I notice that the upper part of the middle window should be more dry when it's open. I add a transparent shader and mix it with the last mix node, adding a linear gradient with a mapping node and a color ramp as the factor. Last, I select the inner edges of the entire frame, offset them with offset edge loops and inset them with the extrude tool a tiny bit. But something is missing. Looking at it, it seems empty. I need something big. So I go to Sketchfab, type in King Kong, and find a free model and download it. I open the FBX in a new Blender project, parent the armature to an empty and scale it up. And the monkey dances. Who would have thought? When he moves so fast he seems really small. Large things move slow. So I take all the keyframes he has and scale them up on the x-axis. And as I don't want to have his arms in the shot and I only use this model in this specific scene, there is no reason not to cut his arms off. It's a quick and dirty way to get rid of the unwanted geometry. No cookies for him today. Back to our main project. I append the monkey, or ape, scale him up and place him in front of the window. I keyframe his position and rotation to start below the window turned sideways, and then to come up and turn his head towards the window. And finally, he gets his own render layer and file output. Hit render sequence, wait some time. And on to After Effects. I create the mask for the window in Mocha, and apply it to a new solid. I place it above the footage and set the footage's track matte to alpha inverted. I add our rendered layers. And a sunset image as background. Pre-compose all the layers and apply magic bullet looks and a S-curve to get a feeling for the final scene. King Kong's eyes seem way too dark, so I open the layer in Mocha and track the eyes. I apply the masks to an adjustment layer, add curves and crank up the brightness. I take the color correction from the pre-composed layer, apply it to the individual layers of the comp and adjust the strength of the look to make them match better. I add some cloud footage, place it between the monkey and the window and set its blending mode to screen. Then I notice the view through the gap is too clean, so I go back into Mocha and track the area of the middle window and apply it to a new solid. I import Ian Hubert's rain texture, place it between the window and the fog, duplicate it a bunch and pre-compose it. I set its blend mode to screen and the new solid is alpha matte. And give it a bluish tint. And that's it. I hope most of you like what you saw and that this is helpful to some of you. Thanks for watching. Have a good time. And good luck.